The logic of engineering is sound. It solved complicated problems for centuries, and we're all better off for it. Applied to youth football development, it produces poor results though. Not because it's flawed or that engineering itself is rubbish, but because skill development is not a complicated problem, it's a complex one. And solving a complex problem with the wrong logic doesn't just produce poor results, it produces something that looks like progress, but may, in fact, limit future development without anyone noticing. There is a link to a free tool in the description that builds practice games for your child based on the better complex logic. Engineering logic applied to football development looks something like this. Identify the skill that's missing, break it down into its components, drill each component until it's consistent, then reintegrate it, measure the output, rinse and repeat. The session this logic produces has clear objectives, a structured progression, and a coach with a plan. The goals are set, every player knows what they're doing and when. It looks like rigor from the outside. It looks like an investment paying off. You, the parent watching, see structure, see your child working hard, see something that looks like development being taken seriously. There are also other sports where this logic works better than it does in football. American football, for instance, gives the coach an enormous amount of control. Timeouts, play calling from the sideline, a prescribed route for every player on every down. An engineering approach here, optimize each role, give each player a predetermined sequence to execute, measure the output. That produces real results because the coach can intervene in real time and the game pauses to allow it. Football, on the other hand, gives the coach the halftime talk. During the 60 to 90 minutes, the information changes every second and the coach can't intervene. Your child has to read what's in front of them and respond without instruction most of the time in fractions of a second. A session built around predetermined sequences produces a player who executes predetermined sequences well. The match does not present predetermined sequences though. The Saturday freeze, the moment the game arrives and the player is still catching up, is often something like this. It's not fear, not a confidence problem. The engineering session prepared them for a different game. Engineers are actually very precise about the kinds of problems they're dealing with. There is a distinction that serious engineering thinking recognizes clearly, and that most football development misses entirely. A complicated problem has many parts. It's really hard to solve, but the parts can be broken down, analyzed, and optimized. A bridge, an aircraft engine, a piece of software. The variables are many, but they stay fixed while you work on them. The problem doesn't respond to your attempts to solve it. Engineering logic works here because the problem is waiting to be solved. And once it is solved, the solution can be copied and used to solve that same problem in the future. A complex problem is different. It's adaptive. It responds to what you do to it. It's like an ecosystem, a market, or your child developing as a football player. The components interact in ways that cannot be fully predicted. The system changes as a result of the conditions you put it in. You cannot optimize the output in advance because the system has its own response. And that response is not always the one you designed or even planned for. The error is not in being rigorous, it's in applying the logic of the first kind of problem to the second kind. Drilling first touch in a cone exercise is solving the right problem for a complicated system. You isolate the component, you optimize it. It's solving the wrong problem for a child whose first touch breaks down under match pressure, with a defender arriving in a space that's different from 2 seconds ago. That system is complex. The engineering fix addresses something the system is not actually presenting. And there is something else worth mentioning that separates complicated engineering logic and complex logic as well, because it's the thing that often produces the wrong response at exactly the wrong moment. Engineering progress is linear. Input goes in, output improves. You can draw the curve, practice, you measure it, and improvement is clear. The line goes up. Development in a complex system doesn't work this way. Players plateau for weeks. Skills that seemed solid last month disappear. Your child, who was reading space confidently in October, seems to have lost it entirely by December. The progress is not a line going up. It goes up, then flat, then apparently backward. Then there might be a sudden jump. What looks like regression from the outside is the system reorganizing. Something is being integrated, adjusted, reconfigured at a level that cannot be observed from the touchline. The engineering response to a plateau is not enough input. So you add more volume, you drill harder, you have more sessions. But that's the wrong logic applied to the wrong kind of system. More input into a reorganizing system does not produce the next leap. It might in fact delay it, or it fills the physical bucket until the body breaks down before that leap arrives. The parent who can sit with the plateau, who recognizes it as a part of how complex development works, is doing something harder and much more useful. They're not mistaking the silence for failure. The alternative to engineering logic is not no logic, it's a different kind of logic. The engineer installs the mechanism. The gardener, on the other hand, designs the conditions: soil, water, light, nutrients, then takes a step back. The plant develops in response to what surrounds it. The gardener watches, adjusts the conditions, and then steps back again. The plant is not installed, it grows and does better in more favorable conditions. A practice environment designed for a complex problem looks different from one designed for a complicated one. Not one correct sequence and one correct answer. A real opponent whose position changes from moment to moment. Real choices between options with different consequences. Space that responds to what your child does. Space that was available 3 seconds ago and is now closed. It's not chaos. It's a different kind of structure, one built for the kind of problem your child will actually face on Saturday. And it's the kind of structure you can create with your child at home, having space in the backyard and perhaps one other person willing to play. One more thing before you go, because it's the same mechanism that I see in the physio clinic. The session based on engineering logic, cones, predetermined sequences, same load in the same pattern of movement, is also what more likely produces overuse injuries. Not because repetition is inherently dangerous, because the same repeated load in the same direction without variation fills the physical bucket in one specific way and overuse injury is what the engineering session produces physically over a full season of training. The complex environment, real opponent, space that changes, decisions that require varied responses, trains the body across varied movement patterns. The same environment that trains the player to read the game better on Saturday is the environment that builds physical resilience against these injuries as well. Engineering logic produces the session that looks best from the outside and transfers least to games on Saturday. The session that transfers is designed for the kind of problem your child is actually facing. The free tool in the description generates the kind of practice game in your backyard that's based on the complex logic. Try it out before the next match. If you want me working through what your child's environment needs right now, what's developing, what's pressing, and how to build something that works for a complex system, you can apply to work with me below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.